How's it going, Ira?
It's great, actually. It's so busy. I'm not
Good.
complaining.
Excellent. Excellent.
How about you?
Same. Can't complain. Very happy.
And there's Lisa, twice in a day.
I know, active today. Except I can't show my pictures. I'm still my gym clothes from this morning.
Oh,
So I'll just keep up my static photo.
Just give another minute and then we'll go to you, Stephen.
Sounds good.
All right, Stephen, why don't you give us an update and then we'll see if anyone has any questions.
All right, so obviously we've been just really seeing the effects of a lot of pent up demand. So it's been absolutely crazy on our end. So really just trying to give our buyers an advantage that we can possibly give them. I've been just, anyone who's getting pre-approved, I'm just sending them right into underwriting, trying to get them a TBD approval before they find the property, so that when they make an offer, we can actually get them an approval letter from underwriting versus just the actual pre-approval. You know, every property is going for 10, 20, 30, 40,000 over asking, 10, 15 offers on properties under contract in less than a week. So, anything that we can really do to give them some type of advantage. I've also been, reaching out to listing agents when I have a client making an offer on a property, just letting them know that, I've reviewed all their financial documents and they've certainly been properly vetted. I know that certainly will set us apart from most lenders. So really just any possible way to get some type of advantage for our clients. Obviously, a lot, even converting a lot of renters into buyers now, just showing them kind of the, benefits of owning a home and borrowing money at such a cheaper cost. And we're really, moving them into a better living situation and almost really lowering their monthly obligations. So it's been, rewarding in that sense, and certainly been able to use the mortgage as a tool. Sometimes people are making the choice to put a little bit less down and pay down some of their, monthly obligations, and really just trying to improve people's overall, situation financially, because we don't really know what's coming. We probably haven't seen, really the results of everything that's going on right now. It will probably take a little bit of time for us to do that. So, I'm really trying to protect our clients and, making sure that we're advising them properly and putting them in the best situation. And, not just for the purchase for today, but, what's going to happen a year down the road, 2 years down the road. Are they still going to be okay? Do they have a decent nest egg, saved up once they're, they've satisfied their down payment and closing costs? And, just really trying to be an advisor and showing that, by having a lender, working with you guys and doing things right, that we're, going to show some value and really separate ourselves from, everyone else, just try to keep gaining that market share. So, that's really what's going on my end. I'm sure everyone always has the interest rate question. They've been pretty stable. We're still in the, low threes, even, high 2% ranges. So, money's the cheapest it's ever been to borrow. So you certainly do have some options there for people. And, we've been making things work. So it's certainly been, crazy. I've been working from like 7 a.m. till 10, 11. I think I sent my last email out last night at about quarter to midnight. So certainly putting in a lot of time, but it has been rewarding.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry, I was a little bit late. So Elizabeth, we have Stephen on for for a mortgage partner? Did we have an attorney as well? No? Okay. Anybody have any questions for Steve? Do you go by Steven or Steve?
Anything but late for dinner.
All right, cool. Anybody have any questions? Now's your chance. Any mortgage questions, forbearance questions, anything at all? All right, well, thanks for being on, Steve. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. You guys have a great day and have a great holiday weekend, and we'll see you guys soon.
All right, sounds great. Thanks
All
again.
right, take care.
All right, so we have Dawn and Andee on today. Is Dawn here?
Yes, I'm just arrived at home, so I'm just going to set myself up out.
All right. Okay, so I guess we'll start with you, Andee, while Dawn gets settled. Maybe just start off, if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and anything we should know.
Well, I've been in the business for 21 years. I've been with Keller Williams for 5, so those are the only years I'm counting.
Right.
I started because I had 2 young children and I wanted to do something, work while I was raising my children. I had no idea when I started that you have to do this full time. So I learned very quickly. And so I did a lot of showings with 2 little toddlers in tow.
Nice. How was that? Probably a little bit hard, huh?
Well, it was difficult. And also my husband is in the restaurant business. So there were a lot of hours with 2 little toddlers. So basically I was on my own, and they did come everywhere with me, and we did walkie-talkies in the car. So I would have a walkie-talkie while I was in the house, and they kept calling me to go to the bathroom and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Wow.
Somehow or another, I survived.
Nice. Awesome. So hopefully I won't have to keep asking this question anymore as things hopefully get a little bit back to some sense of normalcy, but how has your business changed during the COVID crisis, would you say?
Okay, well, I would say initially it was very difficult because I was making care calls, and there was a lot of sad news. So that was tough, but I have to say, I learned to do a lot online. I learned to Zoom, and I love Zoom. I even taught some customers how to Zoom, and I've seen houses through Facebook. So when I have to do a walkthrough through FaceTime, I do it through FaceTime. So I'm liking this virtual world of real estate.
Awesome. That's great. Are you doing virtual open houses still, or are you back to full on face-to-face open houses?
Well, I'll be doing my first open house since COVID, and I will be doing the Sheldon Neal method. In the front door, don't touch anything, out the back door, and then the next family goes through.
Oh, I didn't even know Sheldon Neal has his own trademarked version of open houses. That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what would you say, if you had to pick one thing, what's the key to your success in your business? What's something that maybe you do differently from what other agents do that maybe some of the agents on here could learn from?
Okay, well, I do think that I am a member of a lot of different community things. I'm a member of the Hackensack Chamber of Commerce. I'm a member of the Rotary Club. I was just named Vice President of Leonia Arts. And that is where, it's just like years ago when I was in the PTA, that is where I get most of my business from my friends and from my memberships and people who know me and they meet me. And of course, they always ask the question about real estate. So I would say that's the best place to start, I think, for a new realtor.
Getting involved in different organizations and okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
Absolutely.
Cool. Is Dawn with us yet? No? All right. You're going to have to carry this thing, Andee. You're the star today, but I know you can do it.
Oh, gosh.
I say this on every call, but it's true for me and probably for everyone else. Whenever we do these, or when I'm listening to one, I want to like come away with something that I can implement in my business. You know, say, okay, I spent an hour on Zoom, but I learned this specific nugget that's going to help me. What would you say? Is there something you can share, you know, with the other agents that are listening today that they could, you know, a tip or a tool or a system or a piece of technology that they could, you know, leave the Zoom call today and use to help grow their business, aside from the good tip about joining the organizations and the clubs and stuff?
Okay, well, there are certain things that I think you can do, and I wish I had before I came to Keller Williams. I would definitely start with Ignite. I would definitely get somebody like Hal or Patty or John Genovese to help coach you. And I would pick a focal area, pick one town, pick one neighborhood that you're really familiar with and start with that and work your way out from there. That's the, I would say, the best way to start. And then let me think what else. Yeah, I mean, I think that Command is great. I think Command is a good way to get some new leads, doing those Command ads. And I have to say, honestly, work on Facebook. Do your Command and get your ads on Facebook. And my Facebook, actually my regular Facebook, not my business Facebook, is a huge supply for me. It's a huge resource.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you have any tips for using Facebook? Like, is there particular tactics that you use to generate leads on Facebook, or do you have a certain ratio of X number of business posts to personal posts, or how does that work?
Well, I will tell you a new trick that I learned on Facebook. And so it's the Facebook.
I won't tell anybody, I promise.
Don't tell anybody. This is top secret. If you go to Facebook Messenger, there is a way that you can do a video and you can send that out privately, independently to people on Facebook. And it's just a nice message. It feels like a face-to-face. And when people see you, I think they appreciate it more than just a call or a text. So that's one new tactic that I learned on Facebook. But I also am trying to set up a system for myself. And that system would be 100 text messages, 30 phone calls, and 15 of those videos. And like Cody Gibson says, you don't have to be perfect, just get it done. If you just do it, that's, you know, at least you're doing something. So that's a little system I'm trying to keep with.
Awesome. That's a good tip. That's a good tip. So I always hesitate to ask this question because I should talk to you guys about this ahead of time, but how are you doing with passive income? Is that something you're working with in terms of building your downline, building a profit share tree, working with home and auto, working with the title company? Is that working out for you?
Yeah, well, I am a happy investor in Carnegie Insurance.
All right.
And I do use Carnegie Insurance, Carnegie Title, and Keller Mortgage as tools, especially when I'm making my care calls. I'll call people and say, if you need any help, here's some resources, and I try to help them along. And I have helped people that way.
Awesome. Awesome. How about building the profit share tree?
I work on it all the time. Colleen will tell you.
Colleen, help us out here. How's Andee doing with that? And can you give her a hand?
Andee's, we're working on it. Yeah, she's doing
a work in progress.
a work in progress. It always is.
Who wouldn't want to work with Andee? She's always happy and smiling and positive.
We're working on a capper right now, which we have to talk to you about.
All right, awesome.
Yay! Okay.
What about, again, I don't know if you're just going to say, I don't use any technology, so I'm going out on a limb here, but what about technology? And I'm not asking just for you to say Command is great. Like what pieces of technology do you use in your business? And it's fine if it's not Command. Just out of curiosity, what are you using or what would you recommend? You know, what are you doing that's helpful in your business?
Well, definitely I do use Command, and I'm building up now. I mean, you know, I'm constantly cleaning up my database. So that's something, as long as you have that database in there and you're working on your sphere, I think that's the best resource. And Command does have so many tools. But I have to say that I like Facebook. Facebook does
Yeah.
get a lot of business, and I use it. Sometimes I get a lot of communication from buyers on Facebook. And that may be their first connection with me. Their Facebook.
And what do you post on Facebook to get them to connect with you? Is it personal stuff, business stuff, a mixture? Is there any particular thing that you post that gets the most interest?
Yeah, I do a lot of personal stuff. So I'll do like 3 or 4 personal things, and then I'll do a piece of real estate. 3 or 4 more personal things, and then maybe an open house or something like that. So
Is it putting all the puppies on Facebook? Is that
I
what
do put a lot of puppies. As you know, Al. Yeah, I do a lot of that I do transport and rescue. So whenever I do puppy transport, I like to post that on Facebook. It does get a lot of attention.
I'm sure that does help, though. I think people like to do business with people that are like them, so I'm sure, when they see that you're helping a worthy cause and they're also dog people that are interested in that, like all things being equal, why wouldn't they want to work with somebody who has the same, interests, aligned with yours?
Right.
Makes a lot of sense.
And another thing, and that's Massey, that's my rescue whining in the background, but another thing to do is to also ask questions on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can post something, and everything that I post on Facebook, I post on LinkedIn. But you can ask questions, and that gets you a response. Or you can say, what's your favorite? And
Sure.
When you respond to them, respond with a question so you're engaging them again.
What about Instagram? Do you use Instagram a lot? Would you find one better than the other?
I do use Instagram. I don't use it as much as Facebook. It's
Okay.
just Facebook is easier for me at this point.
Got it. All right, cool. It looks like we have Dawn now. Are you there, Dawn? Can you hear us? I think you're on mute. I'm trying to unmute you.
Sorry, I got myself unmuted. I'm sorry.
All right.
Yes.
Welcome. What do you got going on there in the background? That looks pretty cool.
Oh, there's my logo.
Your logo. Awesome.
The hair's a little different right now.
Cool. Well, welcome. Andee's been carrying this for the first few minutes while we waited for you. She's doing a great job. I think she's be happy to take a couple of minutes break. So, most people know you, both of you guys, because you're so successful in the business. But maybe just Dawn, take a couple minutes and tell us about yourself and your business and what's going on.
Oh, sure. So I've been in the real estate business for 12 years now. I was with Wycott before for 3 years before I joined Keller Williams. And prior to that, my background was fashion design, and I was married to an architect. So I did a lot of architecture too. So I know a lot of builders. My business was really started to thrive when I joined Keller Williams, even though people told me that they wouldn't know who Keller Williams was. And so the last 3 years prior to last year, we'd been doing around $17 to $18 million a year, which was good amount of business for one person really on their own. And then I actually had Lisa Saccone and actually Jacqueline Miller join me. And so 2018, I think we were number 1 in the Ridgewood office, individual agent. And then last year we jumped to number 6 team, and our business went from about 18 million to about 26 million. So it was a bit of a crazy jump. And we're really on track to do business, the same sort of business or maybe more this year as well. So it's been busy. I love it.
Do you have is there a specific segment that you focus on? Like when I think of you, I think of the high-end listings, but I don't know if that's just my perception.
If you think of me, you think of what?
Like higher end luxury listings. Is that where you focus, or is that just my perception of it?
No, actually, that's pretty much what I try and focus on. But, you need the bread and butter stuff as well with the smaller houses too, because they tend to, close faster and sell easier. But when I did join with Keller Williams, I was a bit challenged because, I don't have any family here. My friends aren't here. I'm not a mom. I'm not married anymore. So I really have no connections. And so
Who are all your friends, Dawn?
Well, actually, all my clients are all my friends now as well, which is great. But no, it was difficult because I'm not a mum, so I don't have the Ridgewood mums. I really can't compete. I can't compete in Ho-Hocus because it's so small. Glen Rock as well. So I know that Mark and I designed several houses in Franklin Lakes. So that was why I sort of ended up going to Franklin Lakes, because I figured, you know, I don't really know the area, but I felt comfortable knowing the houses that we'd worked on. And so that's why I ended up over there. And then, you know, I do Wyckoff and obviously sometimes a lot of Marwar. And, you know, I'll go anywhere. I mean, we've got North Arlington right now and we just closed Ringwood. So it just depends.
So I actually get a lot of questions from agents about, you know, how do they break into the luxury market? And although I think that's an awesome market to be in, I think what you said before, you need to do both, because, you know, everything's cyclical, and you need, when the luxury market's not doing well, you know, you need to have the more moderately priced homes, and vice versa. But it's still attractive to people because they're looking at sale, and it's just a huge check. So if you were going to give somebody advice, is there something in particular you do to break into that market, and anything differently you do for, you know, getting luxury listings or selling luxury versus, you know, more typical homes?
Yeah, sure. So I'll go back a little bit. So when I joined Wyckoff, I was working with Mike Mashinsky, and he was a big listing agent and had a lot of listings, and so he could never cover all of his open houses. So, you know, I would say, you know what, Mike, would you mind if I like did this open house for you this weekend or that weekend? And I was always asking him. I was a real pain in the ass, actually. But he would give me, you know, he'd say, yeah, sure, you can do that open house. And so one of the open houses that I did for him was like a $1.7 million house. And I think my ex-husband had designed it. So that sort of gave me a bit of a leg up. But I did that open house for probably 4 or 5 weeks running. And I put all my signs out there. So I got a lot of people that came through the open house. And it just happened that one Sunday, this guy came through and I sold him the house. So so that was my first big house that I really sort of sold, was through Mike. And then after that, you know, with me doing these open houses, you meet a lot of people. And if you can keep in touch with people, that's the biggest thing I'll tell you, honestly, it's your database. It's really keeping in touch with people and definitely calling them back, because this one lady who came through wasn't really very open with me about what she wanted to do. And it turned out that she wasn't really looking for a house. She was actually looking for an agent to sell her house. So I ended up going on a meeting with Mike. I brought him along as my backup, because I hadn't really sold anything like that. And basically I got the listing. And the reason I got the listing was that Mike came with me and basically said to this lady, Dawn's going to do everything she can to sell your house. You know, she hasn't got tons of stuff going on right now, but she's a professional and knows she's going to do the best job for you. So with a bit of help from Mike, I managed to get that listing, and then I'd sold the other one. So once you've sold one or two, it sort of gives you something to show people, and really just keep following up and keep in touch with those people, because if they're living in a multi-million-dollar house, some of their friends probably live in multi-million-dollar houses. And that's one of the other things I did. I actually ended up with a really great client who I've kept in touch with a lot. You know, I take them out for dinner, I buy them expensive wine, I drop off cards all the time, I call them, text them, email them, and do all that sort of thing. And basically they just love me. And so whenever they have a friend, in fact, the people today that I went to the meeting when I was trying to get back here, it was actually a referral from them. So they've referred me to maybe 7 people, all in multi-million-dollar houses. And it's really that relationship thing. So if you have one person that, you know, that you would say, this is my best client, you know, make sure you look after them. I mean, they don't really need a $100 bottle of wine for me, but I know what they like to drink because I've taken them out for dinner, and Peter sometimes brings really expensive wine. So I just always make a note of it. You know, a $100 or $125 bottle of wine is nothing when you compare it to all the commission that I've made just by them referring me.
Yeah, that's good advice. That makes a lot of sense. What I thought you were going to say was, and I don't know if you did do this, I thought you were going to say the way in the luxury market, look at open houses. Can you hear me okay?
No.
You can't hear me okay?
You keep going in and out.
Oh, I got to get this fixed. For somebody who does Zooms all the time, I get complaints all the time that people can't hear me. Can you hear me any better now?
Yep.
So I was saying, I thought you were going to say you targeted open houses just like in luxury properties, and that's how you did it. Because as you were saying that, I was thinking that would be a good strategy. Maybe, you know, if you wanted to break into a specific town or a specific market, who had open houses, and always like try to call that agent and get the open houses wherever you wanted your business to be, you know?
Yeah, I mean, with me having a little team now, I've obviously got Jacqueline, and we actually have Sylvia who just came on board. We're still about to announce that. But I do also have like a little team of people: Ira, Raj, Susan, Cynthia. I have a little team of people that I sort of try and keep using them for open houses when I sort of had too many for us to look after.
Mhm.
If they do a really good job, you know, they follow up. Lisa's got a very organized system where after the open house, they have to give us like a list of who came through, any agents to follow up with, any comments about this might be a great one because I think these people love the house. And they literally do like me a little crib sheet. So every Monday, say if I've had 7 or 8 open houses on a Sunday, all of the agents send their notes to Lisa and she puts it in a spreadsheet for me, which makes it really easy because then on a Monday morning when I've got to call all the sellers and tell them people for the open house, 5 of them with agents, the rest of them didn't come with agents, 3 people might be interested. You can give them feedback and it really, really helps me because I can't be running around trying to find out what did you do, and then try and get back to my sellers. It's just too much work. So she's got it really organized and the agents all know what they have to do. They get this little list into her, she compiles the whole thing, and then it means that on a Monday when everybody's calling me, I can actually go through the, you know, what's actually happened over the weekend. And I love that because it just takes so much stress on my plate, being able to answer the questions for people. And then, as I say, doing open houses, you know, if you do want to get into a certain area or you want to do a certain like price range, you know, yeah, you know, if you haven't got a listing, see if you can do a really great job for an agent that does have a lot of listings. And if you do a great job, they're probably going to say, hey, come back and do it again. Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to sell our clients' houses and we can't be there to do every single one. So just do
Sure.
the best job you can and then follow up. I mean, every single person that comes through that open house, if they haven't got an agent, put them in your cell phone. I tell people this all the time. I've probably got 15,000 people in my cell phone and people ring me up sometimes 5 years after I've met them and I'll say, hey, how are you doing, Raj? Or, hey, how are you doing, Mo? And then they'll be like, how do you know my name? And I'll be like, oh, I met you at this open house at 123 Main Street. And at the time you couldn't afford to buy the house, you were saving up. And they're like blown away. Do I remember it? No, it's all in my cell phone.
Nice. That's a good tip right there. That's worth the price of admission to the Zoom right there. I'll tell you, I noticed one thing regarding open house that always kind of blows my mind. Like an agent will say, I need help with an open house in the BCP group. And I'll have 20 people, not 20, but 10 people say, here's my number, call me. You know, like I need somebody to do the open house. And the people who want to do it will put their number in. And then the listing agent has to call them. And I'm thinking there's 10 people giving out numbers. What guys are going to get? What if you were just the one to pick up the phone and call and be proactive and call the listing agent and say, hey, I want to do your open house? Like, it's sort of like, it's such a passive way to try to do it. I mean, for me and I were the listing agent, the person who picked up the phone and engaged with me directly would be the one I thought was hungrier and I wanted to work with. So just say, hey, here's my number. You have to do the work now to call me, you know, to give me the open house. I never understand why people do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell people, you know, if people do contact me, and that is absolute, I don't have time to look online to see, or to post something and then go back and see if anybody said, yes, I want to do an open house. So what I do is I have Lisa organize everything. And if people like send me a text message, hey, have you got any open houses this weekend done? I'll say, yeah, we've got 7 going on this weekend. Give Lisa a call. She's got the plan. She's working out who's going to be where. We usually try and do it on a Monday or Tuesday so she can get it advertised with whoever's going to be doing the open house. And get it, you know, listed and all advertised so that by Saturday, Sunday, people know it's going to be Susan running this open house, you know, Raj running this open house, Ira's going to be over here, or wherever anybody is. And, you know, if people are interested, then I tell them, you know, if you want to look at try and get an open house every weekend, just, you know, let Lisa know and follow up with her and she'll try and see if we can squeeze you in somewhere.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, all right, back to you, Andee. You had a little chance to rest there. What would you say is the biggest challenge in your business right now?
Oh, you know, I have a hard time staying on track as far as following a system. I'm not a typical follow the system kind of girl. I don't ever like to take the same road twice. So it's not part of my nature to follow a system. So working on a system that makes me feel comfortable and that I want to do and that I get excited about, like those Facebook messengers and things like that. That's the way
So
I
the
try.
challenge is sticking to a system, you would say?
Yes.
I think, Colleen, are you still with us? She probably has some good advice. What advice do you have for Andee to get her to stick with her systems?
I'll keep her accountable.
What's that?
I'll keep you accountable.
Okay.
Maybe a check-in call.
Small chunks.
Maybe a check-in call with Colleen once a week or something like that for a little bit.
Well, actually, I do have to tell you, since Bold Pivot, I have a group of people that we get together. We were practicing scripts and brainstorming together. So I have this group that we Zoom every Monday, and we practice and we go over things and we help each other out and we hold each other accountable.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Plus, Andee is on the ALC, so maybe this is something we can bring up in our next ALC meeting, which is soon.
Okay.
Awesome.
Get the ALC involved.
So while we have you on the line there, Colleen, you know Andee well, what would you say? Is there anything you can share that Andee does well that would be helpful for people on the call, or anything that you want to work on with Andee to help her take her business to the next level? She's saying she wants to get to 50 million next year. So how do we get her there?
Well, Andee is in MAPS coaching, which has helped her enormously. So I think that she's already taken that step. And the thing that you need to know about Andee, and I think what helps her in her business, is she's got the biggest heart. So she's always, in charge of our culture committees or Red Day, with, Luann, who's also on this call too. I think I saw Luann before. And I think, just the way she endears herself to everybody, everybody knows she's coming from a really good place. And I think that's important to know.
You said the biggest heart, because I saw Dawn kind of wins because she has a big heart too. And are you sure it's bigger than Dawn's, you're saying? Well, both of our guests have big hearts.
Want me to speak about Dawn next? And I will, because I know her well too.
All right. Yeah, help me out here. People are sick of hearing me talk.
I haven't worked with Dawn in a couple of years, but we are always in touch with each other. And I think Dawn's strengths are her follow-ups and how she's always, no matter what you do, Dawn's going to thank you 10 times more than anybody else will. She really is very good about that.
Oh, thank you.
If you do that with me, you're doing that with your clients.
That's
And
awesome.
I think that is also a really good trait.
It's really funny because, you know what, they always say, my mom's always telling me, how much money are you giving away? How much money are you spending? And I always tell her, it doesn't really matter, because whatever I give out there, however many times I take out people for dinner, I've got one great client, another great client of mine, they didn't even know me. She called me from my sign. And the reason why she called me was, when I answered the phone, she told me, it was funny. She said to me, I know too many real estate agents. I see your sign everywhere. Will you come and see me, because I need to sell my house? And I said, sure. Who am I talking to? And she said, my name's Sheila. And so I said, okay. So anyway, I went over to meet Sheila, and she told me, my husband's been the fire chief for Oakland for the last 2 years or 4 years or something. And she said, so we know everybody in town. I know all the real estate agents. She knew people from our office, people from other offices. And she said, I just don't know who you are. And I just want to work with somebody that doesn't know our business. So I said, okay, that's fine. Well, we ended up selling her house. And after we sold the house, I wanted to treat them to a really nice dinner, because they're such nice people. So I took them to Sophia's for dinner, and it was a $600 bill. I let them choose anything they wanted, as many cocktails, because nobody was driving. We had a blast. And they've referred me to, I think, 6 people now so far. And literally within like less than a week or 2 weeks, I got a phone call from one of their friends. And their friend said, this is all they said when I picked up the phone: I understand when you sell people's houses, you take them out for really expensive meals. so just, it's little things, but you know what? $600 then, I've probably made $50,000 in commission, something like that. So, you just, and it doesn't have to be really expensive. It's just that people know that you're thinking of them. I've got a client that's down in Florida, and just every so often I'll just send a little text message to say, hey, I'm thinking of you when you're coming back. I miss you, and I would love to go out for dinner with you and Peter again. And it's just, then she'll send me a little love heart and say, I miss you too. I can't wait to see you again. It's just, it's not a lot. It's not, I'm really bad at making phone calls to people, to be honest with you. I did use that that little emoji thing that you get on the new iPhone for Easter. It was a really silly thing, but I did send it to my coach because I have a coach too, and she's phenomenal. And my little me emoji, it was when the coronavirus started and I couldn't deliver my 70 bags of candy at Easter. So that's what I would normally do, have my truck filled with bags of candy, and I have them all organized by town. So I would start in Ho-Hocus and then move to Ridgewood and then go to Glenrock and then go to Wyckoff and Franklin Lakes and so on until I covered everybody. And I couldn't do it this year. So I sent everybody that had kids this little me emoji. It literally was just a copy and paste of me basically doing this cartoon character and voice saying, you know, I hope you had a happy Easter. You know, I'm sorry there was no chocolate this year. Bummer, but I'll make up for it at Thanksgiving. And it was just this silly little character. And I sent it to my coach and she said, oh my God, where did you get that app? I have to have it. And I said, it's just, I just mistakenly found it. It's a little video. It takes all your facial expressions and makes you a character. And she said, I hate changing my phones, but I'm going to have to change my iPhone because I want that little character. So just like silly.
Awesome.
You're breaking up a little bit, Dawn.
Oh, okay. I'm done.
All right, awesome. Well, so sounds like you each have your niche. For Andee, it's saving dogs, and for you, it's expensive nights out on the town. Everybody's got their own way of doing it, but they both work equally well, it sounds like. One of the questions I also like to ask people, I think, especially, I think, Andee, you were saying you're in Bold Pivot. You know, I think 90% of this business is mindset, because you deal with a lot of rejection and everything that's going on in the world. You know, there are a lot of difficult things going on. Is there anything you guys are doing to stay positive and keep your mindset strong that you would share, whether it's, you know, mentally or physically? Any advice for people that are just kind of having struggling, staying on track during these difficult times?
I would say, you know, you really have to live in the moment. You do have to live in the moment. And we can see that with COVID and everything, sometimes you just never know what's going to happen. So I would say, enjoy your life. I always say, love hard, play hard, work smart. So that would be my words of advice.
I like it. Dawn?
Yeah, I got to tell you, Andee, I think we're on the same page. You know, I'm not the sort of person that's going to be held back when there's something going wrong. I'm always on the positive. I'm always, the glass is half full. You know, we can get through this. And when people were really panicking, I'm always trying to just be very clear and understand what their problem, why they're so worried. You know, so for example, when people were, oh my God, I can't go into an open house, or I can't do anything now, I've got to be staying on lockdown. Well, you know, what do you do when you go to the supermarket? You know, you put a mask on, and people got more used to that. And then, you know, I would say, you know, you're going to Costco or BJ's. There's probably been 3 million people through that supermarket in the last 3 months. You're going to an open house or going to look at a house. I know the people, I've listed the house. I know the people are there. I know their background. I know that they haven't had COVID, or if they have had COVID, it was 2 months ago and they're all fine. You know, we're signing paperwork that you don't get if you go to the supermarket. When you go in there, nobody's saying, hey, I had COVID or my husband's got it. So we're really very careful about how we're showing houses. And I think when people get that sort of mentality of, oh yeah, we do that when we go to the supermarket, we can really make them feel more comfortable. And I actually haven't stopped working since this thing began, because I had 8 transactions going on. So I've just been working carefully and making sure that everybody's comfortable. And if they want you to wear a mask, then you wear a mask. I have a can of Lysol in my car. I've got, you know, white wipes for my hands. You know, just being careful. I mean, it's a big, horrible, nasty flu type virus that's just very nasty. But, you know, we've just got to make sure you wash your hands and just do everything you can to stay clean. And if somebody isn't well, don't go out. Stay at home. That's all you can do.
Exactly.
Makes sense. So Dawn, Andee talked a little bit about her social media strategy. Is there anything in particular that you do in terms of social media on any of the platforms that you think would be helpful to share with other agents?
You know, I'm really bad at social media. I think I'm way more of a person. I'm sort of like, I just work my database, and that's really where most of my business has come from. You know, we have done some Facebook posts and things like that. But even though we've had lots of leads, they never really got us anywhere. So I'm sort of more, I'm more of along the lines of, I'd rather connect with my database and follow up with them than do Facebook, because it just doesn't give me, it doesn't get me the thing that I don't know, I'm just not very good at it, I guess. I'm not.
No worries. No worries. So let's follow that thread then. Like, what about substitute database for Facebook? Is there anything you do with your database that's been really helpful that you could share that other agents might find helpful?
Yeah, you know, we always do cards. And right at the beginning of this whole thing, somebody said to me, well, why would anybody want to get a card? Because it might have COVID on it.
Mhm.
And I just thought to myself, well, they're going to get their mail anyway. So if they're going to get their mail, it's not going to make a difference whether they get my card or it doesn't get my card, because they're going to open it eventually. So I sort of ignored that, you know, I ignored that whole thing, and I thought, I'm just going to go for it. So we do Mother's Day cards for the moms. I usually do my top 20. I normally give them a gift card to Whole Foods, because they normally do one with flowers on for Mother's Day. So the top 10 or 20 people, I normally give them, you know, like a $20 gift card so they can go buy flowers for themselves. Then we do Father's Day cards, and for the dads, I normally do scratch-off cards. Not really expensive. It could be $2, $1, or $5, depending on the person. But again, for the top people that are normally referring me. 4th of July, we've got 4th of July coming out shortly, and it's amazing. People just, some people will say, actually, I've only got one person who said, you know what, take me off your card list because it's too much recycling for me. But everybody else, I have people send me text messages, oh my gosh, or emails, oh my gosh, I just got the Father's Day card for my husband and it's so lovely. Or I just got the Mother's Day card and it was so nice to get a card in the post, because nobody does cards anymore. So I know it's like, sort of sounds a little bit corny, but I just really like sending people cards, and I'm trying to sort of get my database organized. So we actually send birthday cards as well, because most of the time you just get all these Facebook messages, which is really nice when you've got 3,000 people who say happy birthday on Facebook, but it takes you ages to go through and say thank you to everybody. And to actually get a physical card in the post that has your name and it's signed by Dawn and the team to say we're thinking about you on your birthday, I just like that. It's just, it's more of a personal touch. And I think that's probably why, you know, my clients and the people that have become my friends like it, because it's more, it's a touch that's more personal than just Facebook and social media. So that's for my, just for my, the way I do my stuff. Nothing to say that Andy's not doing a great job on stuff that she does, but that's just, I'm not very good at technical stuff like that.
No, that's a great tip. And nobody thinks something's corny if it's generating $20 million plus in business a year, believe me. And I just want to translate for you non-Brits, when you say you get it in the post, that means get it in the mail, right?
Yeah.
Yes. All right, cool. I think Heidi had a couple questions. I'm not sure if it's for both of you guys, but Heidi, let me see if you can unmute yourself, or I can unmute you.
Yeah.
Heidi, do you want to ask your questions?
Yeah. So my first question, the other one I don't need any, you've answered, but what do you do? So somebody brings you a referral. Do you give them a gift card? Like it's the first time they're doing it.
Oh yeah, I give a gift, or I send a gift to their house. I usually send cookie baskets or fruit baskets. I have two friends who refer me all the time, and I sent one because she doesn't eat any cookies or anything. So I sent her dried fruit with nuts, and the other one I sent cookies.
Can you send me her cookies? I'll eat her cookies for
I'll
her.
send you her cookies, Al. So yeah,
I do the same thing as well. You know, yeah, if people refer me, I immediately either send them a $25 gift card, depending on where they are, because sometimes people aren't local, or I'll go out and buy a big bunch of flowers, a nice bottle of wine, and run over to the house and drop it off and just say, oh my gosh, it's so nice of you to you know, refer me to Susan, because she just called me and I'm so excited to go and see her next week. And it doesn't have to be anything very much, but the girlfriend Sheila, who's recommended me and was the one that was married to the fire guy in Oakland, just referred me to somebody recently, and I sent her, actually she referred me to two people, so I sent her $50 worth of Visa cards, and she called me up and she said, oh my gosh, it's so nice that you sent me that. You know what, I really need to buy sheets. I'm going to go out and buy myself some sheets now.
Nice. So you guys do something at the time that you get the referral. Do you do something else if the deal closes when it closes, or no?
Sometimes I'll do a pop by and just say, you know, we closed and here's a little tiny rose bush, or I usually try to give a live plant so that it's there and it reminds them. So it could be mini rose bush.
Jillian?
What's that?
I'm sorry. Jillian came in.
Oh. So
Thanks
yeah.
for that, Colleen.
So any kind of a pop by.
Cool. So Heidi also asked, do you run ads? Who's that? Did you say that got answered already, or?
Yeah, I felt like it got answered. Andee said she does, Dawn doesn't, and I don't want to belabor it, but I just did my first Facebook ads, and so far nothing of substance. I know I have to keep following up, but I was asking to see if what you've done that's successful, I guess.
So I would say, like Colleen says, you have to do that 15-mile radius around Hoboken. So you're getting a little bit of New York and a little bit of New Jersey, that area where a lot of people are now going to graduate to the Bergen County area. That should be your target area. And it depends on what kind of ad you're doing, because I've done ads that have absolutely fetched nothing, and then some that have fetched leads. I would say, you know, just make sure your ads are interesting, something that they can question you about, something that's going to draw them in. I like putting the stats out, what's going on now, because I think people are still surprised that we're so busy in real estate.
Awesome.
And I just want to add that I like a 20-mile radius around Hoboken. 20 miles seems to be the magic number for Facebook.
Awesome. And do you, Heidi, which market center are you in?
Your Village Square.
Village Square. Okay. I don't think anyone here is from Village. Well, Dawn is it, but they probably have classes for the Facebook ads. Hopefully you could jump in on one.
Yeah, I have. I just, it's really finding out what works and what doesn't work. So yeah, thanks.
Are you looking for buyers, Heidi? Is that what you're looking for when you do the Facebook ad?
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, if I have a listing, yeah, buyers, but I think it's harder to look for sellers on a Facebook ad somehow.
It is. Uh-huh.
All right, cool. Lana had a question for Dawn.
Hi.
Hi.
Dawn, when you said that you send out cards for all these holidays, and you mentioned that you wanted to get maybe birthday cards out to everybody, I was just wondering, do you run those cards through some kind of mailing program?
That's a good question. That would be a really good way to do it, and I haven't actually found out who I can do it through. So far, we really have been doing it, and it sort of got a little bit lopsided this year, but we were really doing putting everybody in a database, and we would see whose birthdays are in January. So the beginning of January or the end of February would say, okay, we've got 6 people whose birthdays are in January, and we don't have to send them out for that particular day, but even if we just send them all out at the beginning of February, they know that they get a card from us, or a couple of weeks before. And so then at the end of, the last 2 weeks of January, we're looking into February. Who should we be sending cards out to in February? But it would be better if it was a service, but to be honest with you, that's another expense right now, and the last thing is to have more expense. So if we can just have a little labor and system in place where we know that, by the 3rd week of January, we're looking at February's numbers, and by the 3rd week of February, we're looking at who's going to be in March. It's not that much, and it could be just your admin just organizes the cards, gets them all stamped and addressed and everything, and all you do is sign your name on the inside or put a little message on the inside and send it out. That's what we're sort of really aiming to do. And, people say to me, well, I don't know how do I get their birthdays? You can go on Facebook now. I mean, most people's birthdays are on Facebook. Or if you haven't got the husband and the wife's on Facebook and the husband isn't, hey, hey, Barbara, remind me, when's Peter's birthday? Because, it would be nice to be able to send him a card, or I'd love to be able to say happy birthday 2 days before instead of it, not knowing what it was. So really, it's just it's really like getting that database, which is really command, really, really absolutely, so you know everything about those people. I mean, I put them in my phone, but making sure that you remember whoever it was, the kids and how old they are, little silly things. I mean, I remember I met one couple years ago, and they had a little girl called Claire, and she was like 2 or 3 years old, and they were just starting to work with me as a buyer back then, and the fact that I remembered that their daughter was called Claire meant so much to these people. And then what happened was, which was funny, every time they were looking online on New Jersey MLS, and my photograph or whatever would come up, Claire would say, Dawn. Silly little things that people love it when you remember their kids' names. It makes massive amount of difference. And when you're doing an open house, I'm always asking, like, hey, so what's your name? And I know it sounds silly, and it's like, oh, this is Robert, and what's Robert's sister called? Oh, it's Anna. Okay, Robert and Anna. And then just make a mental note, or write it down the back of your open house sheet that their kids will call Robert and Anna, because when you finish your open house and you do your follow-up, my follow-up would be, on a Sunday night, Monday morning, I would be sending out an email to say, hey, Justin and Lisa, it was great to meet you with your 2 kids, Robert and Anna, on Sunday at my open house at 123 Main Street. I know that you're living in Florida right now and you're looking to move up this way eventually. But, if you have any questions or you would like me to send you houses or whatever, just let me know. The crazy thing is that happened to me, and I'd literally sent that email out, and like 9 months later, this guy calls me to ask me about a listing of mine. And I knew his last name sounded a little familiar because it was Adzit, which is a strange name. And I thought, anyway, I was going to send him an email. I started typing his email in, and up pops the name with the open house information, because I'd sent him an open house follow-up email a year before, or 9 months before. So that was fantastic, because then I had this immediate connection to say, hey, Justin, this is amazing. I met you at my open house at 27 Peachtree Road in Upper Saddle River on June the 19th, 2018. So I've actually already met you. And that instantly made him like, oh, well, we haven't got a real estate agent, so I'd love to work with you. I'm like, I remember you. Your wife's got long dark hair. You had the kids. And it sounds really crazy, but if you do those things and you put people in your phone, you will automatically build a huge database of people, and that's what we do all the time.
Okay, thank you.
And Laura, I just want to add that if you don't want to send the cards, which is a really nice touch, but you want to make sure that everybody gets touched on their birthdays, in Command, you can set them up on a smart plan, the birthday card announcements, and they'll just go out automatically when you put them in the contact.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That's really good to know, Colleen. Good to know.
I think Jenny had a question.
Oh, yeah. Hold on a second. Okay. Dawn, you seem to have a lot of good systems or consistency, which I think is probably one of the more important traits that we as agents need. Is there anything else that you do regularly that you find helpful?
I got Lisa involved. You can see her on the screen. Lisa Saccone, actually, she's on there listening right now. She's my dynamite. She's just so organized, and she basically started systemizing everything from the open houses to the cards to pretty much anything that we do. We try and keep it. I mean, I'm very unsystematized, and she's very organized. I am organized, but it looks like chaos to everybody else. So whether it's the open houses, the follow-up, the cards that we send out, we were really planning on doing a big party for clients this year. We do our Thanksgiving pies. I do Easter candy in the summer. We usually do a Halloween thing in the fall. And if you keep doing it every year, people come to expect to see you. And it's really hard to get out there and see, 200 people or however many people that are the real major database that you have. But if you do and when you do, they are so excited to see you. It's amazing. And I'm always like running because I've got 70 bags of candy to give out in 3 days. But even if you just talk to them for 5 minutes on the doorstep and you give the kids candy, and I always have a few spares because sometimes the kids have got friends over and then you give the friends candy as well. It just makes people feel really good. And they're like, oh, it's so great to see you again. And you see the kids have like grown from being 4 years old to 5 and now they're 10 and you're like, wow. And a lot of the time the parents will be like, yes, Dawn sold us this house and you were a baby in mummy's tummy at the time. It's just like so sweet. It's just really, really nice. And it's so great to see people. So I think just like doing those things consistently, as I say, I'm not very good at calling people. There are certain people that I absolutely do call because I just really like them. And then I definitely try and plan as many dinners that I can do with different clients, take them out for dinner, and it's just nice. It's a social thing. Sometimes I'll match different clients up that have closed and say, hey, I've got another couple that I really like. You guys just moved to town. I think you'll get on really well with these people over here. And then just take everybody out for dinner, and everybody gets on so well. And all they do is talk about how great you are.
That's a plus.
Yeah, sounds like a good system. Awesome.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dawn and Andee? One question I had for you guys, what's the main source of business for each of you? And did that happen, was that on purpose or did that just sort of happen on its own?
Well, I would definitely say it's my circle of influence and my database. And it happened kind of on its own because of working with people. And as I said, I am a member of a lot of community clubs and things like that. So that did kind of happen on its own, and it really still is my biggest source of income.
How about you, Dawn?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah. So exactly the same as Andee. Exactly the same as Andee. It's definitely my database. People, again, I don't have all the family connections, and I'm not in a community thing or anything like that. But I just look after all the people that have become part of what I call my family, which are all my clients that love and trust, and they will always refer people to you always. And yeah, it's just work those people. Don't try. I mean, one of the things my coach said to me, was asked me, have you got a database at first? And I didn't really have a database really organized. So what I did was I just made myself a spreadsheet and I started putting people into my spreadsheet. And you can do it so that you can have your top 50 people or whatever that really, really well. Maybe you've sold them more than one house. Maybe they've referred you, and you can label them as number 1 or whatever that you'd like to label them. And then you might have other people that you've met, you've worked with, but you've never bought a house with them, but you think that they would refer you, and they could be number 2. And then you really sort of like trying to get the number 2s to become number 1s. So you sort of have to spend a bit of time, trying to get them really comfortable with you, if you want to know what I mean. So that if somebody did ask them, hey, I'm going to sell my house, do you know anybody? That they would definitely say you, and then they move into the number 1 category, and then they become part of that. Every time we do something, you're included.
Awesome. All right. Well, looks like we need to wrap it up. Let's wrap it up with a more personal, more fun question so we can get to know you guys a little bit. What about, if you guys would share, who's your hero? If you don't want to answer that one, what about what's an accomplishment that you're most proud of?
Well, I would say that my heroes are actually the people in my everyday life. People like my girlfriend, Claudia, who is a nurse at Englewood Hospital, and she volunteered to work in COVID. And, when my son goes out and rescues a dog, those are heroes to me.
That's awesome. Great. Dawn?
Yeah, you know what? My dad was really my hero. That's just it. I can't really say anything more. He was always everything.
That's sweet. That's sweet. All right. Well, I think we're out of time. Anybody have any last questions before we wrap it up? Colleen, anything you wanted to ask or share before we wrap it up?
No, I'm good. I just want to thank them. This was great. I haven't been on very many lately, and I missed it. So I'm glad I chose today to jump in here with these two agents that I've known for as long as I've been with KW. Well, no, not Andee, but Dawn and I came in about the same time, and then Andee for how many years now?
5 years, yeah.
Awesome.
It's always so good to see you, Colleen, as well. You know, I don't get to see you very often, but I remember when we worked the listing together and nobody had any signs and we were all trying to make something happen and Kellahu, and it's just, I always love to see you. You were such a rock star, like organizing everybody and getting all the businesses going and stuff right at the beginning. You know,
I appreciate that, but I do remember that, and Al, I don't know if Al remembers this, but we made you record the on the phone with greeting.
Voice
Thank you
message.
so much.
Yeah, add a little class with an accent to it. You know, that helped.
Keller Williams International.
It's funny.
Two of the rocks that Keller Williams is built on, just chatting up on Zoom. I love it. All right, awesome. Well, Andee, thank you so much. Dawn, thank you so much. You guys were awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody here did. So appreciate it so much. Thanks, you guys, for everything that you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Al, for everything you do.
Thanks, guys. If anybody ever has any questions or needs anything else, just give me a shout and text me, and I can always call you. I'm happy to help anybody.
Absolutely, and me as well. I'm happy to help anyone.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.